Early on the first day of the week, while it was still dark, Mary Magdalene went to the tomb and saw that the stone had been removed from the entrance. So she came running to Simon Peter and the other disciple, the one Jesus loved, and said, "They have taken the Lord out of the tomb, and we don't know where they have put him." So Peter and the other disciple started for the tomb. Both were running, but the other disciple outran Peter and reached the tomb first. He bent over and looked in at the strips of linen lying there, but he did not go in. Then Simon Peter came along behind him and went straight into the tomb. He saw the strips of linen lying there, as well as the cloth that had been wrapped around Jesus' head. The cloth was still lying in its place, separate from the linen. Finally, the other disciple, whom had reached the tomb first, also went inside. He saw and believed. They still did not understand from the scripture that Jesus had to rise from the dead. Then the disciples went back to where they were staying. Now, Mary stood outside the tomb crying. As she wept, she bent over to look into the tomb and saw two angels in white seated where Jesus' body had been, one at the head and one at the foot. They asked her, "Woman, why are you crying?" "They have taken my Lord away," she said, "and I don't know where they have put him." At this, she turned around and saw Jesus standing there, but she did not realize that it was Jesus. He asked her, "Woman, why are you crying? Who is it you are looking for?" Thinking that he was the gardener, she said, "Sir, if you have carried him away, tell me where you have put him, and I'll get him." Jesus said to her, "Mary." She turned towards him and cried out in Aramaic, "Rabboni," which means teacher.
Thank you so much. Ella, amazing job. So Ella's in our youth. Thank you so much for helping there. So my name's Mark. I'm one of the site pastors here this morning. I just want to say to you, Happy Easter. Christ is risen. He is risen indeed. Yes, come on. So what a glorious day it is today. What a reason that we have to celebrate this morning. As we've just read, the tomb is empty. It is finished. Today is a day of joy and a day of hope. And it's a day when we celebrate the greatest news the world has ever heard. And the title of my short talk this morning is Surprised by Joy, which for me, it kind of encapsulates everything we've just read about in those first wondrous moments of Easter Sunday. Anyway, this morning I want to start by asking you a big question, okay? It's a big question. What's the best surprise you have ever had? Okay, what's the best surprise you have ever had? Maybe it was an unexpected birthday surprise, a present. I've got a glamorous assistant this morning, Matthew Meads, who's going to come round. If some of you would like to share, put your hand up if you'd like to share your best thing that's ever happened to you in terms of surprises. Anyone around? Best surprise? Oh, hang on, Jen. Come on then, Jen, go for it. What's the best surprise?
Well, and I wasn't expecting it. So it really was a surprise. Finding out I was pregnant with my first child.
Woo! Fantastic. Anyone else got a best surprise ever they would like to share? Anyone else in the room? Oh, hang on, there's someone down here, I think. Potentially. There's a room of a few. Oh, hang on. Yes. Oh, it was obviously.
She said the new baby.
Oh, and there, Matt. Amazing as well.
On my birthday, I had a balloon llama.
Oh,
a balloon llama.
Fantastic.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Some great surprises there from adults and young ones all alike. I remember I asked Emma, who's my youngest daughter, I think she sat over there somewhere, what her best surprise was. And last year she was at a friend's playing on a play date, and she came back. There's a little ball of fluff kitten we got when she came back. She was very excited, but she did tell me that nothing would compare to if she came home to a puppy. So I don't know what she's saying there, but every year I hear the same thing. So anyway, there's nothing like a good surprise, is there? There really is nothing like it. In fact, you might be interested to know that this morning there might be a little surprise waiting for a lucky few of you underneath your seat or your pew. Have a little look. There might be a little surprise waiting for you. Have a little rummage around. You never know in this day and age. Has anyone got anything? Any surprises? Anyone found anything? Fantastic. Wow. Yeah, got something there? Come on. Fabulous, fabulous. Great. Hey, there's one here as well. Come on. Surprises up in the corner there. Any other surprises anywhere? Some up there. Fantastic. I wonder how they got there this morning. No idea. Now I've got to try and rein it back in now. Rein it back into the talk. Anyway, if you didn't get anything, don't worry. There'll be some little baskets coming round at the end of the service with some little chocolates in. So get ready for those. So rein it back in. Anyway, shh, we've had far too much fun already. So anyway, I guess like when you and I think about the greatest surprises that we've ever had, and thank you for all of those who shared this morning. I'm sure that none of them came close to the surprise and awe that Mary and the disciples must have felt that first Easter morning. We read that Jesus' friends were absolutely devastated. Only 2 days before, he'd been crucified, and they were never going to see him again. To everyone watching, it looked like death had won. How on earth could this have happened? They all thought Jesus was supposed to be the rescuer, the king, even the savior that God had promised. It wasn't supposed to end like this. Their worlds had been turned upside down as a result of the awful events that had unfolded over the last few days. They'd seen Jesus, the rabbi they loved, beaten, betrayed, humiliated, and crucified. Their hopes had been crucified along with him too. But this Sunday morning, the first glimmer of dawn, Mary and the other women headed somberly to the tomb to wash Jesus' body. Immediately, they noticed that something wasn't right. It was wide open. The stone had been rolled away. How could this be? And then they peered through the opening into the dark tomb. But wait, Jesus' body was gone. And at that very moment, to their surprise, 2 angels appeared to the women, asking them, in Luke's account, said, "Why do you look for the living among the dead? He is not here. He has risen. Remember how he told you while he was still with you in Galilee." That's in Luke 24. And that must have been a moment of joy like no other. Inexplicable joy. Their hearts must have skipped a beat as these angels reminded them just what Jesus said to them, that this was going to happen, that this had to happen. And in that moment, it all came rushing back to them. In their joy, the other women, they rushed off back home to tell the others, as we read. But Mary stayed behind in a daze, pinching herself. How could this be true? How can he be alive? She'd seen Jesus die and be buried with her own eyes. Surely it couldn't be true. It just didn't happen. And in that very moment, Mary heard someone else approaching in the garden. Thinking he was the gardener, she thought to herself, perhaps he'll know where Jesus' body is. And in confusion, she said, "Sir, they've taken my Lord away. If you have carried him away, tell me where you've put him, and I will get him." And Jesus said to her in that unmistakably familiar and gentle voice, "Mary." And I love it how the Jesus storybook describes this very moment. It says this: only one person said her name like that. She could hear her heart thumping. In awe and wonder, she turned around and could make out a figure. Surely it couldn't be. She shaded her eyes to see and thought she was dreaming, but she wasn't dreaming. She was seeing the risen Jesus with her very own eyes. I love it. And in that second, Mary's whole world flipped. The normal rules of sadness and death were broken. She wasn't just happy. She was surprised by joy. The kind of joy that makes you feel like you could burst. I just love it that Jesus didn't choose to make a loud and triumphant appearance to tell the whole world of his victory, which he could have done. But no, instead, he chose to appear quietly and alone to Mary first, A woman who had been judged the worst kind of sinner in the day, yet loved and completely forgiven. Amazingly, Jesus was raised from the dead. The tomb really was empty on that Easter morning. Jesus' followers really did see him alive again. The resurrection did happen. Jesus is alive today. And lastly, we can read about how encountering the risen Jesus transformed the lives of a group of frightened and confused individuals into a bold community of love, joy, and peace. In fact, if we read on into the New Testament, we discover that all the disciples' lives were so dramatically transformed, they could not help but share all they had seen and heard, joyfully and courageously witnessing to everybody that they met. Their lives really had been radically transformed forever. In fact, so convinced that everyone needed to hear this good news, history tells us that all but one of the disciples were killed for their faith. But nothing could stop the gospel message spreading like wildfire. Thousands came to faith, and the church as we know it was born. And it carries on to this very day. Many of us here this morning will testify that our lives have never been the same again since meeting Jesus. He changes everything. He brings new life and rescues us from death. If the central image of Good Friday is the cross, a picture of the suffering love of Jesus, God's own Son dying for each one of us, then the central image of Easter Sunday is the empty tomb and the risen Jesus. The empty tomb is a picture of new life, of risen hope, of transformed life, of resurrection power. And Easter isn't something that just happened back then. It's something that can happen right now for each one of us. His empty tomb is our empty tomb. His new life is our new life. New life can begin now in Jesus for each one of us here this morning. That's what we celebrate today on Easter Sunday.